Switching over to AEW, the Continental Classic is in full swing. Again, if you are not a Continental Classic fan, this is not the month for you, but we've gotten some good matches out of it so far, I'll tell you that. It's the best tournament in any promotion that's been going on these last few weeks. And we had the big match between Jon Moxley and Claudio Castagnoli on Wednesday night, the Battle of the Death Riders. Would they shoot a big angle coming out of the match? The answer is no. Two of them went out there. It was very quiet for most of the match. I don't think the fans really knew who to root for and how to react to most of it. And they started to get into it towards the end, and then it just ended. Like Claudio caught him with his wicked uppercut, charging into the corner, and he just pinned him. And that was it. And Claudio beats Jon Moxley. We got no follow-up angle on TV. We got no interaction, not even a stare like that they shared. The Death Riders just, they went to go leave, and the show went off the air, and that was it. And what I've noticed is they have been shooting a lot of promos and vignettes backstage that they have been putting on their social media mostly. And they've actually been really well done. They've been really, shot well. And you see Marina Shafir as part of some of them. And Moxley will talk, or Claudio will have his comments, or maybe he'll just be standing in the background while Moxley is talking. You're kind of watching to see if they have any sort of visceral reaction to what he's saying, any sort of hint of what may be coming. And the answer is no, not really. The segments themselves, though, I think are mostly well done. So we go from that on Wednesday to Collision last night. Claudio's coming off this big win over the leader of the Death Riders. And Claudio, by the way, is also the CMLL heavyweight champion. And he goes in there against Mascara Dorada, who's not winning the Continental Classic. Everybody knows this. Mascara Dorada, though, goes in there and he beats Claudio clean with a 450 splash. And he pins him. He pins the CMLL World Champion. He pins not the leader, but obviously one of the more prominent members of the Death Riders. That gives Dorada the first points of his in this tournament. Claudio still remains at 6 points. You want unpredictability. Well, you got unpredictability because I did not see Claudio losing to Mascara Dorada 72 hours after beating Jon Moxley. But I guess they can explain it by Claudio just being spent from the match on Wednesday. But all of a sudden, the Death Riders are racking up losses, and it's not just Jon Moxley. Claudio lost. Pac lost the other night to Okada. They had a good match. Marina Shafir and Megan Bayne, they lost to Toni Storm and Mina Shirakawa on Wednesday, so they're out of the women's tag team title tournament. A bunch of losers they've become. But Claudio also lost last night, and he lost to someone that Moxley had beaten previously. So I don't know where they're taking this now. I don't know. I don't know where this Death Rider stuff is going. It is interesting that they are, especially with some of these backstage segments, I feel like starting to do more of that now than they were doing before, and it's kind of making things interesting in that I don't know when they're going to pull the trigger, who's going to be the one pulling the trigger. I don't know what form the Death Riders will take when and if Moxley does exit the group. I don't know. I can't even say for sure that Moxley is exiting the group at this point. Before it was like, okay, he's the one who's losing all these big matches. Like even Pac, he beat Darby at Full Gear, right? And Moxley lost in Blood and Guts. And so you kind of saw where it might be going, but now they're all fucking losing. So they've lost the argument here. They can't just be mad at Moxley for losing matches when they're losing matches too. And you would think that win would earn Dorada the next shot at the CMLL title. Evidently, only heavyweights can challenge for that championship, and Dorada is certainly not a heavyweight. So I don't know how strictly they enforce that rule. I mean, maybe they'll do that match. I mean, he beat the champion. To me, he should get a title shot. And he's already in CMLL anyway. The main event last night had the IWGP champion. He had a better go of it than the CMLL champion did. Konosuke Takeshita, he beat Jon Moxley to earn another 3 points in the tournament. And so with 6, he is tied with Claudio in the Blue League, while Kyle Fletcher, another member of the Callis family, he is at the top of the Gold League with 6 points. One person we will not be seeing more of in the Continental Classic is Darby Allen. He is out. They aired footage last night of a promo. He was on a rooftop somewhere, so I guess he was out of the hospital. And he said that when he was wrestling Kevin Knight that first week, he felt scared for the first time when his legs gave out. He said he didn't care what happened to him or if the doctors were trying to save him from himself. He also didn't care that Jack Perry was going to be taking his place in the tournament. He told him, may as well win the whole thing. As for himself, Darby said, I just don't know. So we still don't know what the injury was. He did suffer a legitimate injury in that match. I don't know on what spot. I don't know if maybe it's a concussion or if he injured a body part. I don't know. They haven't told us. The fact that Darby, of all people, had to be pulled, tells you a lot, though. It must have been something scary. So he's out. Jack Perry is in. And, I said this on Wednesday. The predictable way to go here in a tournament that has been anything but so far would be to have Okada and Fletcher topping the Gold League and have Claudio and Takeshita topping the Blue League. I would swap out Fletcher, though, for Kevin Knight. I would have Kevin Knight go to the finals of his league against Okada, just so that we can at least have an actual babyface in this thing. Otherwise, it's popular. I know Takeshita is popular, but it's mostly populated then by heels, almost entirely. So that's what I would see the Final Four being, but look, they're trying to weave some story into this thing. We've had some really good matches so far, so I've been enjoying the tournament. Mercedes Mone is not having a very good time. Obviously, she lost to Chris Statlander at Full Gear. She failed again to win the AEW Women's World Championship. And I've been telling you this for a few months now. I said, the story has to be that is the one title she cannot win, and then the downfall can begin. So she defended her Ring of Honor television title in a rematch against Red Velvet Friday night at Final Battle. And yes, the downfall has begun. She is no longer the Ring of Honor television champion. She got beat by Red Velvet in what apparently was a really good match. I still have not seen it, but a lot of people were raving about it. And so Mercedes was not happy about this. She was having a meltdown in the ring after. She did go out and beat Layla Gray on Collision to retain her TBS title, as she should have. I mean, you don't hold that title for 560 days just to turn around and drop it to fucking Layla Gray. Yeah, I would say if she's not going to be out hurt for too long, because she's out injured right now, I actually think Queen Aminata would be a good option to take that TBS title off of Mercedes. She was starting to really be pushed at a noticeable level. I saw some of those matches and stuff she was having over the last few months with Tekla, and man, I mean, those women were laying it in. I mean, they were having some real fights, it felt like, in that ring. And I kind of feel like she is the perfect person who would benefit, from a win over Mercedes and then taking this mid-card title and trying to make it her own. And, she could even defend it against Tekla. So I don't know the nature of the injury as far as how long she's going to be out for, but I think she would be a good option for that. And there's no need to take the TBS title off Mercedes right now. She has other belts she can drop in the meantime. And when Aminata is ready to come back, maybe you build up to that match. Because I look at other people like Jamie Hayter. She needs to be groomed for the world championship. She's bigger than the TBS title. So I wouldn't throw her in there. I think someone like Aminata would benefit from that. But Mercedes is defending her Rev Pro British Women's Championship against Rio next Sunday. That's going to be the next one that she drops. She's going from 12 belts to 11 belts Monet next weekend. Mark it down. Now, this week is the annual Winter is Coming episode of Dynamite and Collision as well. But we'll focus on Dynamite here. We have Hangman Page and Swerve Strickland are going to be a tag team. They're going to be taking on Katsuyori Shibata and Powerhouse Hobbs of the Ops. We're going to have the finals of the Women's Tag Team Championship Tournament. It is the Babes of Wrath, Willow Nightingale and Harley Cameron, taking on the Timeless Love Bombs, Toni Storm and Mina Shirakawa. This could go either way. I'll just stick with Toni and Mina since I picked them from the very beginning. I would go with them, but you can't go wrong with either of these teams, right? Two fan favorites. So I don't really care one way or the other. I just hope they go out there and have a really good match. And then we have the AEW World Championship. On the line, Samoa Joe defends against Eddie Kingston. They had a face-to-face in the ring on Wednesday that was good. I don't know. I was expecting even more from it. I thought it was too short. But then Eddie cut this great pre-tape promo last night. They aired on Collision. That was even better than what we got in the ring with them on Wednesday night. So the championship is on the line. Eddie Kingston is not winning the AEW World title here. And I kind of feel like, man, if this is just a one and done, That would be kind of disappointing. Maybe they could drag it out a little bit. I don't think that's what's going to happen. There was a sit-down interview that Hook did with Alicia Atout, and they promoted this on Wednesday and said, hey, go to YouTube to see it. I'm like, what? And it was like 2.5 minutes long, and they're on this rooftop in New York City somewhere. And Hook laid it all out, and he said that it was a plan all along for months to get the world title back on Samoa Joe. He was never out of the ops. Even when he got hurt months ago and they replaced him with Powerhouse Hobbs to win the trios belts, Hook said that was his idea. Who do you think made that call, he said. He turned to his big brother. All he did was use Eddie Kingston as a pawn in a larger game that was being played. A fine explanation. I have no idea if this was 2.5 minutes long, why this couldn't air on the television show. Beats the fuck out of me. But at least they addressed it. So while I would love to see them stretch this out to one more match with Joe and Eddie, assuming that we're not going to get a clean winner on Wednesday, maybe do it at World's End, that seems very unlikely. I think they're more likely to transition to Eddie against Hook and then have Joe defending against Hangman again and maybe even throw Swerve in there for a triple threat. That would seem like the more likely scenario to me. But I am looking forward to that match on Wednesday. I think that should be very interesting to see what the crowd reaction is. If the crowd really gets behind Eddie, since he is one of the more beloved baby faces on the roster. They've also announced the annual Dynamite Diamond Battle Royal is going to be taking place 10 days from now, December 17th. That's going to be part of a 3-hour combo holiday bash edition of Dynamite and Collision from Manchester, England. So the two men left in the ring at the end of that battle royal will then advance to the Dynamite Diamond Ring Final as part of the Christmas Eve Dynamite on 34th Street special, airing at 6 p.m. Eastern on Christmas Eve. The winner of that match will get the Dynamite Diamond Ring and will challenge for the AEW World title at Maximum Carnage. And that episode of Dynamite will be airing on January 14th. So they have an entire month of television, this grueling tournament, right? The Continental Classic. You got guys fighting for the right to become the Continental Champion. One battle royal in a match gets you a world championship shot. I don't know. If you give me the option, I would much rather take the battle royal in the match to get my way into the world title picture than go through an entire fucking tournament. Maybe we'll actually get a new diamond ring holder. MJF has had that ring every year for the last 6 years. MJF has been gone for a few months. Could he return in the battle royal as a surprise? He could, I suppose. That would be one way to bring him back. But keep in mind, he still has that guaranteed contract for a world championship match. The fuck does he need the diamond ring for? This feels like it would be a good time to get that diamond ring on somebody else's finger.